Welcome to the Avenues program. This is a program which has been specially put together to provide support for patients like yourself whose doctors have prescribed Arapax 20 for the treatment of depression. We will try to support you in any way possible as you travel along the road to recovery with the help of your medication. During the program, we hope to provide you with general information about depression and to answer any questions you may have about Arapax 20. The success of your treatment is dependent on you taking your tablets regularly and for as long as your doctor feels is necessary. It is usually easier to follow instructions if you understand the reasons behind them, which is why we would like to give you some information about depression and its treatment. Let's start with depression, the illness which is causing the symptoms you're experiencing at the moment. We asked Dr. Thomas to explain a little more about depression and its treatment to Mandy, one of his patients who has also recently been diagnosed as suffering from depression.
Mandy, as I told you, your symptoms of tearfulness, sleeplessness, irritability, and feeling unable to cope are caused by depression. It is important that you understand that depression is an illness and not a sign of weakness or a personality problem as you feared. Just like a diabetic patient has an imbalance of insulin, we now know that depression is caused by an imbalance of some of the chemicals in the brain. Serotonin is one of these chemicals. It's called a neurotransmitter because it acts as a messenger transmitting impulses between the nerve cells in the brain. In depression, the levels of serotonin are too low and the brain cells can therefore not function effectively. This causes the symptoms that you have been experiencing. I'm sure you will feel more comfortable knowing that there is a medical explanation for why you are suffering from depression. Many patients feel that they have done something wrong. This, of course, is not the case.
I must say that it's a relief to know that I'm not going crazy and that there's a good reason why I've been feeling so awful. Can you explain to me how my treatment's going to work?
Well, I've prescribed Arapax 20 for you. Arapax 20 belongs to one of the newer groups of antidepressant drugs called the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs. As you can gather from the name, Arapax 20 stops serotonin from being absorbed into the brain cells. The serotonin therefore stays in the spaces between the nerve endings where it can effectively act as a messenger, restoring the function of the nerves to normal. The selective part of the name means that Arapax 20 is less likely to affect other chemicals in the brain, and as a result, it causes fewer side effects.
How long will it take for the Arapax 20 to get the chemical balance back to normal?
Depression develops slowly over a period, and it also takes a while for the treatment to start getting things back to normal. It'll probably be about 2 weeks before you start to notice an improvement. Some patients start to feel better sooner, but most people need to be a little patient. I must stress how important it is that you take your treatment every day. It is only 1 tablet a day, which is convenient and should be easy to remember. You will improve steadily once the Arapax 20 starts to work. I've had excellent results with it.
How long will I have to take the Arapax 20? Stories about people becoming addicted to tablets really worry me.
Well, you'll probably take the Arapax 20 for about 6 to 12 months. You see, once the serotonin levels are back to normal, we need to give the brain time to stabilize. Depression is a condition which can recur, but by continuing treatment for some months after your symptoms have disappeared, the risk of suffering a relapse can be significantly reduced. The important thing is to take your tablets regularly until I tell you you can stop them. Let me assure you that Arapax 20 is not addictive. When I eventually stop the treatment, you should experience very little, if any, withdrawal symptoms. We may gradually decrease the dose over the last couple of weeks, just to be sure that you are ready to stop, but I have seldom seen a problem in any of my patients. Mandy, I'm going to give you a folder that contains a booklet which will answer some other questions that you may have. This is part of the Avenues program, which has been specially designed to provide support to patients taking Arapax 20. It contains information and hints, which I'm sure you will find useful. If there are any other questions that you have as you go through the book, make a note of them, and we can chat about them the next time you come to see me. Oh, and please, feel free to call me at any stage if you are worried about anything.
Your doctor has also given you the Avenues program folder. Avenues was developed to help patients like you. We know how important it is that you keep taking your Arapax until you have completed a full course, and we want to give you as much support as possible along the way. In the Avenues folder, you will find the Arapax 20 depression booklet and a registration card for the Avenues program, which your doctor should have helped you complete. Please put it in the post as soon as possible. You will also find the first of the Avenues newsletters with details of how the program will work. Many patients like you who are suffering from depression feel quite isolated and withdrawn. Having family and friends who understand can play an important part in recovery, but sometimes you need to turn to others for support. We went back to Dr. Thomas to ask him about where you can go to find the support that you need.
Depression is a common disorder, yet it is a condition which is associated with a lot of misunderstandings. Because there are no physical signs of an illness, people tend not to give you the sympathy and support that you need during your treatment. People will often tell you to snap out of it or to pull yourself together, but as you know, this is just not possible. You are genuinely ill, and until you receive adequate treatment, you may find it difficult to cope. You probably feel irritable and withdrawn, which often leads to problems in relationships with your partner, your family, and friends, and even your work colleagues. Arguments result, and although you desperately need someone to talk to, you often end up feeling very isolated and without anyone to turn to. Providing other avenues of support is therefore an important part of the treatment. You should of course remember that your doctor and your pharmacist are the ones who understand your illness and its treatment, and you should feel free to speak to them about any problems. Somehow, though, I know that you will be reluctant to bother your doctor, so we need to look elsewhere. Support groups are a very valuable resource in this regard. They can provide you with information about depression and can also provide that all-important ear when you simply need someone to talk to. You would probably find it very comforting to be in contact with someone who understands your problems. The contact number for the depression and anxiety support groups are listed in the Avenues booklet. The Avenues program will of course also provide valuable support to you. Apart from information and advice, the newsletters also contain stories from patients who have suffered from depression. It is always a comfort to know that you are not alone and that there are others out there with similar problems.
We asked Dr. Thomas and Mandy if they would mind if we sat in on one of her follow-up visits to see how she was getting on. At this stage, Mandy has been on treatment with Arapax 20 for about 6 weeks.
I'm really feeling a lot better now. I must say those first couple of weeks weren't easy, but I kept taking my tablets as you said I should. I'm glad that I phoned you about the nausea. I did as you suggested and took my tablet with some food. The nausea improved and disappeared totally about a week after that, and I haven't had a problem since.
When I last saw you, you said that you were feeling a bit less anxious and that you were sleeping better. How are things going now? Are you finding that you're coping better?
Yes, I do seem to be improving. I have no problems with sleeping now, and that overwhelming feeling of tiredness is gone. But I still have bad days when things really get on top of me. I can't remember which day it was last week, but Steve and I had a really bad argument. He wanted us to go out with friends, and I just couldn't face mixing with people and having to try and make conversation. He stormed out, and I just cried and cried. I really felt hopeless again. Steve just doesn't understand, and our relationship just seems to be going from bad to worse. I didn't want to talk about this, but since I've been on treatment, I seem to be having problems when we have sex. Could it be a side effect of the tablets?
Mandy, although you are feeling better, you still have some way to go. And it's very important that you continue with the Arapax 20. Remember that it can take 2 to 3 months of treatment before all your symptoms disappear. And then you will need to continue with the treatment for that maintenance period that I told you about. Your sex life is certainly something that we can talk about. Depression itself can cause problems, and you probably didn't feel much like having sex when you were feeling so depressed. Arapax 20 can also have something to do with it. Women taking the tablets sometimes have difficulty in reaching an orgasm, while men can have problems with reduced libido and delayed ejaculation. In a strange way, the fact that this is worrying you is a good sign, because it means that you are starting to take more of an interest in sex. And that's a sign that you are getting better. What I can assure you of is that once the Arapax 20 is stopped, all should get back to normal. What is also important is that we help Steve to understand what effect the treatment is having on you, and that you still have some way to go in your recovery from depression. I could have a chat to him, or perhaps you prefer to go for some counseling together. Every person suffering from depression needs support. You need someone you can talk to, and I know you don't have family nearby. I could refer you to a trained counselor if you feel that would help.
I did speak to the head of the depression support group. I was feeling quite desperate one afternoon, and I phoned the contact number. She was very helpful, and I spent quite some time just talking about how I was feeling. She's going to send me some more information about depression.
Well, I'm glad you made contact with the support group. They have trained counselors who can answer your questions and provide valuable support. You can contact them at any time if you feel that you need someone to talk to. Mandy, I think that you're making good progress, and as long as you continue to take your Arapax 20 regularly, you will continue to improve. Before I see you again in 2 weeks' time, I want you to think about getting back into doing some regular physical exercise. Getting yourself fit and improving your general health is also important. I know that you gave up going to the gym when you were feeling so lethargic, but now that you are feeling better, you could consider doing some walking or other activity that you enjoy. A healthy diet is also important for your health in the long term.
Mandy has been taking her Arapax 20 regularly and seems to be well on the way to recovery from depression. The suggestions that Dr. Thomas made apply to anyone who is suffering from depression, and you might find them helpful too. Regular exercise and good eating habits are essential for a healthy lifestyle. But the single most important thing that will determine your recovery is to take your treatment regularly. Refer to your booklet for answers to any questions that you may have about depression and Arapax 20. If you have any other questions, speak to your doctor. Regular checkups are important so that your doctor can keep a check on your progress. And remember, don't stop your treatment. If you are experiencing any problems or have any doubts about the treatment, please see your doctor first. Remember that you are not alone in suffering from depression. Many others are suffering from this illness right now, and many more have been successfully treated and are now fully recovered. In fact, 25 million patients have been treated to date with Arapax 20. With the help of Arapax 20, you too can regain your health and get back to being your old self. The Depression and Anxiety Support Group have asked us to pass on a message to you. If at any time you feel that you need help or information, please feel free to call them. They are there to support you and would welcome your call. Trained counselors are available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to listen and give advice. They understand depression and will support you in any way they can. We wish you all the best as you travel along the road to recovery.